Goddess, Past, Present, and Future by Ascended Master Djehuty, channeled by Tom Jacobs in 2011. Text read by Seal Stambro. Acknowledgements. I cannot possibly thank all those who have directly or indirectly supported me in becoming open enough to be willing to bring through this volume of material. In one way or another, all humans are living out the imbalance between masculine and feminine portrayed here, and I have, since my earliest memories as this me, been studying how it plays out in the lives of all I come into contact with. I am grateful for the opportunity to observe, play with, challenge, be challenged by, and learn so much from those whose spheres have overlapped with mine. The shortest list of those to thank is Joy Thomas, my mother, David Jacobs, my father, and Miriam Schwab, my sister. They, as souls, agreed to provide the primary incubator for my rather intense, difficult, and layered karma regarding healing and taking responsibility for the diminishment of the feminine within myself, and for this I am eternally grateful to them. My deepest divine thanks go to Jillian Sheridan, who arranged to make a spectacularly grand entrance just when this me is finally ready to open to remembering, knowing, and being the goddess. Without her conscious, loving reflection, this volume could have sat achingly half-finished for a very, very long time. Introduction. In this third volume in the series of channeled teachings from the Ascended Master Djehuty, footnote. The first two are Approaching Love and Understanding Loss and Death. End of footnote. Also known as Thoth, Saint Germain, Merlin, and others. We are invited to look into the history of how we have conceived of, related to, and experienced feminine energy. Throughout the volume, he puts our attention on the fact that this energy is one of two energies in nature. He makes this basic point in many different ways, encouraging us to make connections between our cultural emphasis on the elevation of the masculine and how we, as a result, treat ourselves, each other beings, and the earth itself. All of us are continually and deeply affected by the imbalance between these two energies in our world and lives. Some of the human responses to this situation over the last 6,000 years include to find the self disempowered in the face of it, and reacting with anger at the injustice that is focused on women and everything else that is perceived to be feminine. As it is time that we see the truth that anger is always sourced in pain and then learn to deal in healthy ways with pain, this volume, in one sense, aims to dislodge and disarm the anger we have carried for so long as individuals and as a collective in order to stir the beginning of a healing process. It seeks to do this by introducing an element that has been missing for the whole of this collective multi-millennia situation, perspective on why it has happened, why we have experienced it. The imbalance between masculine and feminine that has defined human life over the last few millennia is ready to be healed. Individuals are ready to see just why it occurred and then learn about and choose to come back into balance. The book you are reading will explain to you why humanity needed to elevate the masculine while diminishing the feminine, and then experience it and live through it for so long, even though it has caused so much pain and suffering and confusion about the nature of life, the universe, and the God-Goddess. At times for many of us, it has seemed that all these forces must want us to be in this imbalance so that we suffer. Yet we are ready to cease choosing to feel victimized at the hand of some god or other. The pain and anger that stems from the imbalance runs deep. The healing process begins with understanding why we have experienced it and why we need to and continue with taking responsibility for having created it. All of us have lived numerous lives along the Earth timeline, and each of us is part of all that is, the so-called God, Goddess, Creator, etc. So responsibility for our creation must be taken. The healing process continues with becoming conscious of all the ways that the natural feminine is present in and can be expressed in our lives. This makes clear what arenas are available to us in which we can now choose to make balanced choices that will affect the level of balance for the collective over time. Healing is furthered when we take charge of our lives and get to the point where we feel empowered to make healthy choices in the moment, regardless of what has happened to us in the past. Healing is complete when we embody a healthy natural balance between masculine and feminine within ourselves, not as the sum of what has happened to us in this life or over many lives, and when we accept others living in this way because we have accepted ourselves completely. Well, what to do with all that anger in the meantime? For starters, we take the intensity of the passion that is carried with it into making proactive choices in the arenas of life that are directly affected and informed by the natural feminine. You will read about several arenas of life here and gain perspective about how to bring life back into balance. All channeled material aims to stir and shift your consciousness, and this book is no different. If you are open to taking in this material, if it rings true for you, then do take it in. Know that it seeks to adjust your consciousness or awareness level so that you can take in even more truth and understand more about why your life is unfolding the way it is. It seeks to leave you more conscious, open, and aware, and therefore more loving than when it found you. What can happen as you read this material is that parts of you that need attention, parts that might have been hidden for a very long time, may come to the surface. Since each and every one of us has lived lives along the Earth timeline in states of fear, suffering, anger, and disempowerment, when it comes to how the feminine is regarded and treated, it might be expected that in a number of readers there will be parts of self that come up to express something in response to the material, or even just to make sure that they are seen and heard. Our complaints over time about how women are treated in various cultures in various times, though just one, it is an obvious arena of how our collective notions of the natural feminine have manifested over time, have often not been met well, and have even got us into trouble in many cultures along the Earth timeline. They have also gotten us ignored, and so when any parts of you come up with something to say, honor them. Hear what they have to say, and let them know you'll neither ignore nor fail to hear them any longer. Djehuty emphasizes here that healing our historical issues and imbalances related to the natural feminine is integral to our being able to know ourselves fully as the divine beings that we are. This requires knowing ourselves not just as multidimensional beings, but cataloging, hearing, feeling, and honoring all that we find within us that is in need of being expressed. Some of this material may be difficult for some, or perhaps many, readers. Djehuty invites us to take our time with the book and to commit to being good to ourselves as we experience old issues and wounds coming to the surface for review and healing. In many of us, there is deep pain that we might prefer never be aired, even as we need it to come up for air. As Djehuty points out here, We are ready to learn the true nature of the pain that we have created when it comes to the natural feminine in all its forms, and to come out of perceiving ourselves to be victims. I invite you to get grounded before you read this book, as well as to set the intention to expand your awareness of all angles on the issues covered here. I also invite you to approach this material with an open heart. This situation, as it is on Earth and within us, cannot possibly shift until we meet these issues within and around us with an open heart. My intention in opening to bring this work through is that we as individuals can see the way to come back to a state of empowerment when it comes to all the life issues covered here. It is in my heart that we live as we truly are, and that we love each other without restriction, constriction, rules, demands, or expectations based in the fears of those who set our present social context in motion 6,000 years ago. They did their job, and we have learned through that context all that we have needed to learn as all that is, playing at being human in order to learn what it means and requires to do so. Let's be grateful for what we have seen about ourselves and move on with the conscious intent and awareness. I offer this work with the intention that it supports you in coming back into balance and feeling clear enough to become a more conscious operator of your life, your divine life, as a human on this plane. When you do this, you can see, feel, sense, and know clearly the gift you have embodied in order to give, and this is beautiful to me. Tom Jacobs, Tucson, Arizona, June 12th, 2011.